clouds are just moving really fast. Well, clouds are moving really fast.
Greetings, everyone. My spirit name is the Spirit of the Water that is the Rainbow. I am originally from Manitou Rapids Rainy River First Nations in Treaty 3 territory. My nation is Saulteaux Anishinaabe, and I belong to the Caribou clan. My English name is Georgie Horton Baptiste. I currently live here in Peterborough. Today, I am grateful for Aki, Earth Woman, who sustains all creation. May we always walk softly upon her. I am grateful for Nibe, water, source of all life. May we always protect and keep it pure. I am grateful for Nokomis Jesus, Grandmother Moon, for guiding the life cycles of Aki, her daughter. I am grateful for Mishomis Jesus, Grandfather's son, for the warmth and light he brings to Aki, his daughter. I am grateful for Gete Anishinaabe, our ancestors, the old ones who came before us, for caring for Aki in a good way. May we all follow in their footsteps. I am grateful for the caretakers of this territory, the Mississauga Anishinaabe. I want to acknowledge that Nogojiwanong, otherwise known as Peterborough, is located on Treaty 3 Mississauga territory and with the traditional territory of Mississauga and Chippewa nations, known as the Williams Treaty First Nations, which include Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nations. I respectfully acknowledge that the Williams Treaty First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters, and will continue to honor this responsibility for as long as the grass grows, the waters flow, and the sun and moon rise. Nahau, miigwech, 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 miigwech. I want to welcome everyone here this evening. I'm so happy to see all of you, the number who showed up. It's a good sight to see all the orange blazing here. I am grateful to see that. And we have come together tonight to remember our unknown Abenogiag, which is the Anishinaabe word for children. So with love and solidarity, the Nogojiwanong urban indigenous community comes together to remember and honor the 150 unknown children buried in unmarked graves on the sites of the former Kamloops Indian Residential School, and many others across the land we continue to hear about. We grieve with their families and communities. News of the discovery of the children's remains, some as young as 3 years old, reverberated throughout Indigenous communities across Turtle Island. Generations of our people were removed from their homes to attend residential schools that were funded by the Canadian government and administered by various Christian churches. The residential school system was created in 1880 to remove Indigenous children from their culture for the express purpose of assimilating them into the dominant Euro-Canadian society, or, to put it succinctly, to kill the Indian in the child. The last residential school in Canada closed in 1996. So I'm going to turn this mic over to my sister, Liz Ozamek. Chimigwech, Georgie. Chimigwech, Kinaguya. Thank you everyone for being here this evening, especially on this day, Anishinaabe Gijagat, Indigenous Peoples Day. Chimigwech, for wearing your orange shirt for those children.
I want to talk about, I was asked to speak about the residential school, and I am a survivor of the residential school. I went to Spanish Ontario for many years, and I came out in 1956. I also came from the water walk, which was a water walk that was done from Sudbury to Spanish. We were trying to bring awareness of what people are doing to the water. The water that's that Sudbury is a nickel city. They use a lot of water to cleanse the zhonya, that shining stone, that shining stuff. We value it, but also it's very dismaying. It is destructive in one way. To clean it, they use the water. When they clean the water, all the sediments go into that lake, into that river. And it goes on to Sudbury, right through Lively, and on to Lively to Spanish River. And that Spanish River goes all the way down to Spanish Ontario, flows into many different ways, like Georgian Bay and Lake Huron. What do you think happens to our fish? What do you think happens to our mammals that live in the water? If we don't look after the water, we are not going to live forever. We need to take care of the water. So we are asking people to be aware of what they're putting into the water. In the laundry, when you do your laundry, what kind of soap are you using? Is it chemically treated? The tobacco that we use, is it chemically treated? So all of these things, we need to bring awareness of that. And then yesterday, the water walk was finished on Saturday. And then the plan was that because the water walk ends right near the residential school where I went, they wanted to have a special ceremony for the school, for all of the children, for the 215 children that were found in BC. And we don't know how many more in other residential schools, both in Canada and the States. As a child growing up, we knew. When we told our parents, and our parents said, someday that truth is going to come out. We will see that truth. The truth is here now with those children that were found. We don't know how were they buried. Did they have rituals for them? Did they have burial rites for them? We don't know how they died. Every human being that dies, they take them to the church, and there's a ritual that they go through. In the same way as Anishinaabe, we have rituals. We prepare our people when they leave this world. This lady that had a dream about 7 children, they said they were stuck and they were crying. When she was in fast, she saw this vision. And those voices told, those children's voices were told, we need your help. We are stuck here. We can't go into the spirit world. And she asked them why. And they said, because they said if we go against it, we will go to hell. So we are stuck here. Help us to get through. We want to go on the other side. That was her vision. So because of that, the vision, we had what you call the grieving ceremony. And the second ceremony that we had was forgiving ceremony. And there is a song, a forgiveness song that they also sung. They did all of the rituals, like preparing for those children so they could be released, so that they can go through that shadow that blocked them from entering into the spirit world. That's what we did Saturday night. The ceremony has to be done in the evening in the dark, and we finished about 12:30. And then yesterday we finished the other kind of ceremony, the forgiveness ceremony for the children and the survivors that went to those buildings. Now, one building is still up, but it's only a shell because it got burned. The other one is demolished. The town bought the boys' school, and the boys' school in front there was a church. When the town bought it, I went there, and they didn't tell the Anishinaabe that they were going to demolish that. They only found out by secretly 3 days before they were going to demolish it. So they had trucks, 3 trucks load of things that they found from the boys' school, so that they could be kept as archives. And then the army came and demolished that building. Because they wanted to get rid of the building, they wanted to get rid of the evidence. And I know when I walked one day there to see that building, that first building was a church. They always told us that the priest and the nuns said this is a very sacred place. You do not do anything to commit something not appropriate to God. Well, I always believed that because as a child, that's what you've been told. It was a holy building. But when I went there, I was so shocked to see it. It was a bingo hall. No longer was there sacredness in there. So, but that is where we did the Anishinaabe rituals, the ceremony. They always told us that if we talked about our ceremonies, that we would go to hell. We were forbidden to speak our language. We were forbidden to talk about our culture. I remember when I was leaving to go to school, my parents worked hard for 3 days and 3 nights. They were listless. They just sat down, wondering. I could feel almost like death because they weren't doing anything. They weren't even eating. I thought about that time. But that's the day, 3 days after, they were taking me to town so that I could get on the bus. My father telling me, do not forget your language. Do not forget your culture. No matter what they do to you, and there be strong. And fourthly, go and learn about the Inanak so you can come back and tell us why we can't even go to town without asking permission so we can go and get groceries, which is called the Indian Pass. We've lived through that. There are a lot of things that I could tell you, but I survived. I didn't go to school until I was 10 years old because one of the things people ask me is, how did you not forget your language? Well, I didn't go to school until I was 10 years old. My father must have knew because he said, they will never take your language away from your mind. It'll always be there. So they always tried. They always tried. They said so many things that I have believed them. One of the things they always said was, you wouldn't have such shiny shoes if it wasn't for the government. You would not have inside washroom. You would have to go outside 50 below zero so that you can go to the washroom. Here, you can just turn your tap and use inside bathroom. Yes, that's true. That was true. We believed them in that. We couldn't afford inside bathroom or toilets. Those are some of the things that they told us so that we could believe them. There are a lot of things that happen as young kids, the things that we went through. One of the things that I did to keep my language was, before you go to bed, you evaluate yourself. What have you done for your community? So I still did that, and I still do it today. I took a trip psychologically to my family to visit them. I could smell the wood smell and the surroundings, and I could talk to them. I was telling them about what I was learning at the school. But I was whispering in Anishinaabe, in my own language, because that was the only safe place where we could talk, use our language. She came there and she must have heard me because they were inspecting, and she opened that sheet just like that, and it startled me and brought me back to where I was supposed to be. And they asked, are you praying? I think that was my first lie. But I was afraid because I was going to be punished if I said yes, no. I knew that is one way that I kept my language and practiced. There are a lot of other things. I traveled all over, hearing the truth and reconciliation. People have asked me, what can they do? How can they help? You can help by talking to your MPs. You can encourage the church and the government because they work together. to restore what they destroyed, to restore our languages and programs and housing. I don't know how you would restore the mother and the child, the bond that was broken. That bond was demolished when we entered the school, because from then on, they took the child from the mother and put us into the bus so they could re-assimilate us, so that we can turn to like a white person. That's what they wanted, and all the time the nuns always said that. It's better to be white than to be Anishinaabe, because Anishinaabe are just pagans and drunks and everything else. In fact, they told us that we didn't have a soul. It was in 1962 that the Pope and the government declared that we do have a soul as Anishinaabe. I asked my father that. My father said, "Don't believe them." He said, "If we didn't have a word in our language, we would not have a soul. But we do have a soul. We do have feelings as a human being. We want to belong. This was our land." In closing, I'm only a visitor here. I am from Okamakang. I came to school here at Trent University. I became a professor there. I would promise God that I would always reteach the language to the people, especially the people that lost their language through no fault of their own, if they wanted it. So the other thing I want to say is, if the Pope does, I know people are pressuring the Pope to apologize. If the Pope apologizes now, it will not mean anything, because it should have come from long time ago, from the heart here. When you do something wrong, you restore that in a meaningful way. Well, he hasn't done that. So think about all of those things. We thank you for all your support and all those orange shirts that are here. All you people that have supported us, we give you a thank you. We send our love. Miigach. I was so mad when I heard about the 215 children. So many things for all of these days. That first day especially, I wondered how I was going to heal myself. And I thought this one gift that they gave me is to speak the language, to speak in English, to have fighting words. I started writing poems. I'm not a poet. I hated poems when I was going to school. But some words came that day. And it didn't hit me until later on that day. And it was this man, Duncan Campbell Spot, who wrote about a woman, which I want to read first, and then I always wanted to retort to that. He says, "She stands full-throated with careless pose, The woman of weird and wandering race, the tragic face lurking in her face, when all the pagan passion burns and glows, her blood mingled with ancient foes, the thrills of wars and wilderness in her. Her rebel lips are dabbled with stains of foes and forays, and her father's oath. The closer the shawl around her breast, the latest promise of the nation's doom. Paler than her baby clings and lies, premier warrior glinting from the eyes. He stands, burdened with infant gloom. He draws heavy brows and will not rest. That is from Duncan Scott Campbell, the one that wanted to get rid of all of the not a savage left on this earth. So I retorted that. I am not a Madonna. I am not a Madonna, but I am Ojibwe no Dawa woman. I stand here and tall and straight, not a crooked as some people are. I am a woman with kind heart and soul. Nor am I belong to a fading race. We are a strong Ojibwe tribe. We are women who give life, but we have been treated less than a human. They said I didn't have a soul, but I do. If I didn't have an Anishinaabe word for it in my language, we wouldn't have a soul. But since we have a word for it, I have a G-bomb. G-bomb. For my G-bomb has shown a lurking face, a tragic face to find out. These people, these holy people, what have they done to our children and our minds? I have a passion of anger. How could they? With fire burns, with heaviness of fear, what will happen next? I raise my eyebrow now of hearing and seeing whose responsibility is it? No one wants to own up to it. They pass the buck back and forth like a music of rock and roll. I see a head of the holy organization lurking with fear of losing their flock, expensive chandeliers painted with gold and shiny. What is worth more, human being or materialism? Who is raising eyebrows now? Who is not resting now? I'm not a Madonna, but I am a woman with dreams and wishes to be treated as a human being, for I too want to belong. I need safety. I am not a number, but a woman standing with proud heritage, proud with pride for what I have been given, teachings of goodness. We stand tall like a tree with branches of hugs and roots running to feed people with caring. I am Ojibwe woman with beauty inside my body. Written by Shirley Williams. Nogojiwanong.
There's something that I wrote, or was a song, but it talks about the children. When we heard this, I would be walking every day in the morning, and this came to me. Children, you were loved. We love you, children. You will never be forgotten. Children, you are loved. You will be greeted in the spirit world. Children, you are loved. We remember you today, especially today. Children, you are loved. Kimes negom gigachiek, kimes negom gigachiek, benojiak gizagegom, benojiak gizagegom, gawika kanen magosim, gawika kanen magosim, benojiak gizagegom, benojiak gizagegom, katkweshkagom odegishgom, kapkweshkagom odegishgom, benojiak gizagegom, benojiak gizagegom, katkweshkagom odegishgom, katkweshkagom odegishgom, nangwadash kdopkwen megom, nangwadash kdopkwen megom, benojiak gizagegom, benojiak gizagegom. Miigwech.